There will be 13,400 newly MOP flats alone in 2026. More supply might seem good, but is it an opportunity or a threat for you? Will there be too many sellers in today's market for HDB? And I'll actually explain to you if your HDB have already MOP, or if you're one of the owners that have MOP flats in 2026 and moving forward, you should definitely watch to the end of the video, because this video will affect your house, your sales, and also moving forward your future in terms of the HDB valuation. Some locations might get affected more, and I'll explain further in this video. Hello everyone, I'm Jia En. So if you're first time to my channel, remember to help me to like and subscribe to my channel first. So in my weekly YouTube analysis, I'll share more about the Singapore property market and how it will affect you and your decisions moving forward. And also, if you haven't done so, feel free to join my Telegram group chat over here, where I will actually update more about the news articles and how these articles will be relevant to you and your house. So in today's video, I'll talk about whether the HDB market will crash in 2026, and in today's topic, we will be running through a few articles. Firstly, the increase in supply in the HDB MOP flats, a total of 13,400 units, and also potential removal of the HDB wait-up period of 15 months, and whether there will be lesser resale buyer due to the increased number of BTOs in today's market. There will be some risks that will be relevant to you because there may be too many sellers at once with so many MOP flats, and also some locations will be affected more by this whole entire situation. And last but not least, will the HDB valuation continue to increase or drop? We will discuss in today's video. So in the year of 2026, there will be a total of over 13,400 HDB that will actually reach MOP, which means they've already fulfilled the 5 years minimum occupation period. And if you have noticed, in these 13,400, there are a few locations that have more HDB supplies that will actually be MOPing. This includes Punggol, Queenstown, and Tampines, whereby the number of MOP units that will MOP in 2026 is almost double the amount of numbers that hit the MOP in the 2025, which means in this year alone, the supply is actually double of last year's 2025 MOP. And with this increased number of MOP flats, it will affect the number of resale flats that will be affected, that will be available in the markets. And these 14 towns and newly MOP areas will also be affected by the upcoming BTO supply and also sales of balance supplies, because right now in Singapore's HDB market, there have been a lot of supplies. But what happens is when there's too many supply, maybe the HDB resale market will have some downward pressure, which means maybe your HDB prices will not be as fantastic as what you think it will be. And apart from these 13,400 MOP flats, you can also notice that in 2026 to 2028 alone, in total there will be 53,000 flats that will MOP. These have already surpassed the previous supply of 34,000 MOP units between 2023 to 2025. So we can see a increased supply of HDB that will be coming to the market from 2026 and moving forward. So now let's look at the exact locations where these 14 towns are and how it will actually affect you. So in this page, you can see the different locations. Most of the locations that have more BTOs includes Bedok over here, 1,440, Punggol 3,222 units of newly MOP flats, Queenstown a total of 2,405 MOP flats, and we also have Tampines and Toa Payoh that will have more supplies of MOP flats over here, each having more than 1,000 MOP flats in the entire estate itself. So a total of all these combination of HDB MOP flats adds up to 13,480 units in the year of 2026 alone. This might mean that your flat will be just one out of the 13,000 flats that might be for sale, and with this, it might also mean that there will be more choices for the buyers who are looking to buy a newly MOP flat, and there may be less urgency for the buyers to commit into your unit. So before you decide whether you should continue to stay in your house or maybe you should sell, let's look at next page and how this will continue to affect the HDB market moving forward. So have you heard of the HDB wait-up period for the private homes, which means if a private condo owner or a landed owner decided to sell the house and right size to a HDB, they need to wait a total of 15 months after their completion date before they can actually be eligible to buy a HDB. But did you notice last year in June 2025, the government hinted us that say maybe it will be relaxed before 2027. So when is before 2027? Is it 2025, 2026 or 2027? So there might be a chance that the HDB wait-up period for the private homes will be actually being relaxed this year. But in order for this to happen, the government also mentioned they must make sure that the resale price, they will not rise too quickly and is affordable, which means that for this to happen, the HDB must already be stabilized, which means the HDB market cannot be increasing consistently more than 1% per quarter. And right now, once the government think that, okay, if it's stabilized and I need more demand back into the market, then they will remove this HDB wait-out period. So it might seem confusing, is the HDB market going to increase or going to decrease in terms of the HDB resale price? Right now, we do see that there is a chance of it being stagnant or decrease, and if this continues, this is the moment when the HDB wait-out period of 15 months will be removed, just to make sure that the HDB price do not drop too drastically. So you can see that the government is monitoring very, very closely on the HDB market, and they predicted all of this back in 2020, 2021, whereby they added the supplies, ramped up everything, and even included this HDB wait-out period. So right now, we do see the HDB resale price starting to be more stagnant and drop. So let me share with you more with regards to the Q4 2025 HDB Resale Price Index. So this is a news in January 2026, just this month. So you can see that in quarter 4 of year 2025, what happened? How much is the resale price index? So in Q4 2024, the resale price index was 2.6% increase. Q1 2025, the increase was 1.6% increase. Q2 2025, 0.9% increase. Q3 2025, 0.4% increase. And what happened in Q4 2025? Just last quarter, it's 0% increase. If you did zoom in the numbers, in fact, it is actually a negative 0.1% decrease in HDB resale price index, which means we see smaller and smaller growths of the HDB resale prices, even with a lot of other HDB news are saying that there is an all-time high and all. We are seeing signs of the HDB market being stabilizing and also dropping at the same time for different locations, and throughout the whole entire Singapore is right now at 0%. So if we zoom out for the HDB resale price index across the whole entire year since 1994, you'll notice a price trend whereby it goes up, it stays stagnant, and then it goes up, it stays stagnant, and right now we are here, Q4, whereby there is 0%. So it increased. So what we can see here right now is either it will stay stagnant or it will drops. This is something that we do not know, but we can predict in year 2026. And if we were to zoom inside the HDB Resale Price Index numbers, here's what we have. From 2010 onwards all the way to 2024, you'll notice that there is an increase, and then in 2013, where there are more cooling measures to make sure the HDB market do not increase as fast, it starts to decrease all the way until COVID-19, whereby it increased again due to a lack of supply back then in COVID-19. And subsequently, it continues to increase all the way until 2024. Of course, there have been HDB measures since 2021 to make sure that the HDB market is much more moderated. And when we zoom in at the numbers again, you will see the quarter per quarter change, which is what I shared with you earlier. So in year 2021, the quarter per quarter changes was around 2.9% all the way to 3+% over here. And in year 2022, from 2.3% all the way to 2.8% over here. Year 2023, ranging around 1+% a year. If you remember the timeline, there was a 15 months wait-out period over here, which I mentioned that once the private owner sells their private property, they need to wait for 15 months before they are eligible by HDB. It happened in September 2022. This actually removed a huge chunk of buyers from the HDB market, and that's why you see that the number of HDB buyers drop, and eventually the increase is slower in year 2023 alone. So this explains the HDB Resale Price Index, and afterwards, it was already after the 15 months wait-out period, that's when the prices starts to increase again per quarter, when the buyers came back from the private market, because now they've already waited out for the 15 months. So you can see that the government is very, very smart in terms of the measures that they've put in place. Because of this increased supplies in like BTOs and also increase in supplies of newly MOP flats, we do see that in year 2025 alone, the prices are increasing at a decreasing rate. So like what I shared with you earlier, 1.6%, 0.9, 0.4, and last quarter is 0% increase in the HDB Resale Price Index. And in fact, with this 0% increase, there were a lot of HDB $1 million flats sold in the year 2025. And how many $1 million flats were sold? It's a total of 1,594, and is 1,594 a lot? It's a lot of $1 million HDB. This is a 50% increment from 2024 alone, and yet the HDB price grow the slowest in the whole entire 5 years. So what does it tell you today? It tells you there are signs that the HDB is stagnating, and today if you are thinking whether you should make a move or should you stay in your current house, you should definitely watch to the end of the video. Think about your next steps, because your price may not stay the way as it is right now, and 5 years later you might see that the price starts to drop worse than this. Your heart will start to ache. So is there a chance there will be lesser resale buyers out there in the market because there are too many BTOs? So if you have already been following up with the news, you know that the government have ramped up a lot of BTOs in the market, and a lot of my friends, they say, hey, I have a queue number right now, or I'm within the queue, because there's so many BTOs numbers. And in fact, from the year 2025 to year 2027, the government have launched about 55,000 new BTOs, and in the year of 2026 alone, there will be another 19,600 BTO flats that will be launched in this year. So this is where the buyers will think, should I go for a resale HDB or should I go for BTO? So if you are a buyer today, your question will also be, should you go for BTO or resale HDB? If you can wait, which one is a better choice for you? And that's why maybe some of the HDB resale buyers are already flowing to the BTO market slowly and quietly, and that's why we also see a drop in demand for the HDB resale market. So there are 3 risks that you need to take note of if your HDB is going to MOP today, or you have already MOP and you still haven't thought about what to do next. This is risk number 1. There may be too many sellers selling at the same time in year 2026. So you might find it harder for you to get exposure of your HDB, and your HDB is moving too slow. This is because, as we see in this video alone, there is a total of 13,400 units of new MOP flats in the market. So there's even more supply in the market right now. So buyers have a lot of options in today's market depending on location that you are at, and there will be higher price pressure for a few categories. So let's say if your flat is also older right now, especially more than 20 years old, it's getting more competitive for you to sell your house, because there are a lot of newer flats that buyers are more attracted to. And if your house do not have any renovation, or your renovation is for quite some time, it has been quite old, maybe you find it harder to appeal to buyers to appreciate the renovation that you have. So also, if your unit right now is on a lower floor, you might experience some challenges because there are lower premiums or higher floors. Buyers might choose for higher floors right now because the price is quite competitive in today's market when there's so many sellers selling at the same time. So if you're looking to sell today, these are some tips that will help you. Perhaps you can do with staging, painting, getting better renovation, or getting a good trusted agent to help you. And also, it's important for you to right now reassess your assets and decide whether you should actually elevate your assets, because if you're staying with these assets, there is a chance that the 2013 HDB price trend will repeat, whereby the price will start to drop or stay stagnant for another 10 years, and by then it will be too late for you to make a decision. So to summarize, when everyone MOP together and there's more units for sale in the market right now, the buyers suddenly have options, and it just means that your sales will be much more slower and harder to reach out to the right buyer today. So what's risk number 2? Risk number 2 is that location actually matters. So today, if you're planning to sell a house, you might realize that some locations are easier to sell and some locations are much more harder to sell right now. So not all locations are actually equal. So you might think that there's only 10 units for sale in maybe your whole entire block. But if you look at the whole entire cluster and whole entire 1 to 2 MRT station away, you might realize that there's another 300 units for sale, and these 300 units are actually like your competition, and that's why location actually matters. So locations whereby they are in areas whereby they have a lot of BTOs MOPing at the same time, you'll realize it's very challenging for you to reach out to the buyers because there's so many markets for sale right now, similar to risk number 1. And the buyer pool that you're actually targeting today is actually the same. So we are all targeting for the first time upgraders buyers, or we are targeting for the young couples, young families that are buying house HDB for the first time. So honestly, this will actually matters when the people are buying, and you do have to do similar things as risk number 1. You must make sure your house is much more beautiful, stands out in terms of the renovation, help to declutter before the viewings, and make sure you get the right agent, because this will actually impact how your sales will be when you're selling right now. And if you do not do the right step, your sales will be very long. And this actually links to number 3 about valuation. So number 3 about valuation is the HDB valuation. Do you think with this current market, will the price actually go up or go down for the HDB market? So when everyone lists their flats for sale together, right, you'll realize that there's a lot of supply, and because there's a lot of supply and lesser buyer pool out there, there could be a chance of lower price, and there could be a chance whereby buyers will negotiate very hard on price, and sellers who are more urgent, they will actually sell at a lower price. So what happens after that is that when there are units who are selling at lower valuations, this will eventually pull down the valuation of the average market, and that's why maybe there is a chance whereby the valuation will actually go down. However, if you are actually in a location that is very good, near MRT, schools and amenities, or you have very good renovation, then you don't need to worry about the HDB valuation being adjusted because there is an oversupply in the area. So the valuers will look at the real transactions that are around the area. So if there are more and more transactions of the flats being lower and lower, that's when the valuation will drop. If there are more transactions about HDB resale prices being higher and higher, then the valuation will actually increase over time. So what you need to do is you need to monitor the transactions, not just the listing, how much is being transacted nearby, and plan more about which one should you actually go for right now, which renovation is better, is a higher floor better or is a lower floor better, which facing is actually better. So based on all these different available units and supply, monitor so that you know if you're a buyer how to get a best unit out of this market, and if you're a seller, price your unit reasonably so that you can actually move your unit faster and reach out to the right buyer pool today. So just to share with you about the location, why it matters, because if you think that you're just one of the units selling here, for example in Punggol, you'll realize that there's a lot of clusters that are also selling right now, and they will MOP maybe just next year or 2 years later. And in total in this year, Punggol will have 3,222 units, and for Queenstown alone in these two areas, for the Dawson series, we have 2,405 units in Queenstown. There's a lot of MOP units that are for sale right now, and your valuation will depend on whether your neighbors are selling at a higher price or lower price, and this will affect your valuation in the long run. If you are waiting, you might need to wait for 2 years or even 3 years, because the more you wait, you realize there are more and more MOP flats around the area, and there are more and more supply. This may not be the best for you if you're thinking of waiting to see how the market will be like in the future, and maybe the price will just drops because of an increase in supply. So before I share with you what you should be doing as a buyer or seller today, please help me to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I spend a lot of time doing weekly videos, and if you haven't already done so, help to join my Telegram group chat where I'll be sharing useful information for you in terms of the property market today. So one important question that you will be having in your mind right now is, if I'm a seller and my HDB flat is going to MOP in 2026, what should I be doing today? If with the increase in supply, your house could be just one of the many that is for sale today, and that's why if you have already MOP or you're going to MOP this year, you need to start planning now today. So it's good if you plan earlier, because the sale will not be as easy as you are planning to. You need to track the actual transactions that have been transacted nearby and not the asking prices, because sometimes you'll notice that the asking prices and the actual transacted, it could be a price gap of more than 50,000 or 100,000, because some sellers are not as realistic in terms of the asking prices, and this then led to the actual transacted price and the listing price having a huge gap. So you need to track the real actual prices of the transactions, identify how many competitors are there nearby, and how many upcoming competitors you will be having in the whole entire 2026, 2027 or 2028, because there are more and more supplies in the area. So what you need to do is to plan your purchase and sale together. It's important to control the timing instead of letting the market control, because there is a possibility of you taking 6 months to sell or even more in this current market. So you need to make sure you plan this whole sales and purchase together. And if your HDB sale is too slow, there is a chance that you'll miss out good private opportunities. So you need to really plan as a seller today you need to take the action, how are you going to take the action moving forward, and what is the price that you're going to price so that you can exit more smoothly. You can make sure you plan your timeline together such that the sale and purchase, you don't need to rent a house. Everything is much more smoother today. And for the buyers out there, it's actually good news. Maybe this supply is to your advantage, so you do not need to rush. So what you can do is to view more houses so that you understand what is actually being overpriced right now, what's a fairly price, what's a reasonable price for the valuation, and even if it's very well renovated, how much premium are you willing to pay for the renovation. So it will also be good for you to find out what's the upcoming supplies of the MOP flat so that you do not rush into decision, and make sure you know your maximum budget because you don't want to be paying excess, which is the cash over valuation. So once you know your budget, you can negotiate and know what is the must-have that you must have. It's very important because right now, I've sold a few HDB and I noticed that the HDB valuations, they are in fact dropping. So because of a lower HDB valuation, there is a chance that you may need to pay COV. So you really need to understand what is the market. If you're a buyer today, do not rush into it. Understand how you should look at the right you need, and if you need to, get a trusted agent so that everything can be smooth for you. So most importantly today, whether you're a buyer or you're a seller today, the real question you should ask isn't should I sell or should I buy, is what happens if you do not sell or what happens if you do not buy. Because as you are noticing, the price of the HDB market is already stabilizing. Your market is very uncertain as of right now in 2026, and also we notice that the interest rate is also dropping, and there are many factors that will affect the HDB resale market. So your question should be, what will happen if you decide not to sell or you decide not to buy? This supply will actually affect you, and that's why you need to make the right decision. So if you have any other questions about whether you should be selling or you should be buying, feel free to PM me, and my number is actually on the top, 94314533. Feel free to drop me a message and I'll answer your questions. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.